With over 50 characters in the game, the question of power creep has popped up again. There's a lot of people who argue that you don't have to worry about it, while others say you do. But in order to even figure out if HSR even has a power creep problem, we have to define what power creep is. There is no point in having this conversation at all if power creep means something different to everyone. So for this video, I'll be using this definition of power creep, taken off Google. The situation where successive updates or expansions to a game introduce more powerful units or abilities, leaving the older ones underpowered. Just off this definition, we can see that yes, HSR has quite a bit of power creep, but every gacha game has power creep in some form. What matters is how bad it really is. To answer this, I will go through every current character in the game and see if they have been power crept or have power crept a different unit. I will be going over not just the 5 stars but also the 4 stars because there are quite a few that are usable. And based on the definition we are using of power creep, a unit has to be underpowered or obsolete in order to be considered power creep. Just because a character is insanely strong doesn't mean that other characters are underpowered. A few things I want to mention before we get started is that relics are a big part of a unit's viability, with great substats enabling you to do more even with older characters. Team comps also matter, especially with buffers, and the buffers being as strong as they are, they can allow you to run different units with the same success as others. Another important thing to consider are the buffs from each endgame mode. They can pretty much make or break a character's viability. These things are so important that certain characters can be usable to clear content just from what supports you run as well as the relic quality you give them. But those are external factors. They shouldn't be a part of whether a unit is power crept or not. So I'll be talking about how strong characters are at base, not just in their optimal comps with optimal relics and substats. I'm going to say it now so that people don't get it twisted. You can clear newer content with all characters if your team is good enough. Starting off, we begin with Arlen, a unit who is infamously bad now, but apparently was really good in the beta, to the point he was nerfed. He is without a doubt power crept since launch, and while you could use him, he is a meme more than anything. Dan Heng. As a free character, Dan Heng is a big contender for being power crept, but surprisingly fulfills his role pretty well. He works his role of helping the player through the early game well, but falls off later. He is power crept, but you can run him if you have the setup for it. March 7th. Another free character that is a bit weird in power creep. As a preservation unit, she is very much power crept, but fulfills a different niche in her remembrance freeze comp. She also allows for higher taunt value on a particular target with her shields, making her good with some characters like Clara. Asta has been power crept, but is still usable in some comps as a replacement for units you may or may not have, but she is not the best. Serval. As a lightning DPS, she is very much power crept. As a sub DPS, she could work with the right setup, but otherwise, she will be replaced quickly. Herda. Not power crept. She is a very strong unit for pure fiction and is recommended to build by many. There are other units that are better for pure fiction, but they occupy the main DPS role. She is more of a sub DPS, making her a great pair option for many comps. Sampo. Power crept. He has his uses, but Black Swan is just better Sampo. He doesn't bring much else to the table besides being a second or third dot character, and even then, a support may end up allowing the team to deal more damage. Natasha. The free healer the game gives you. Power crept. There's much better options to sustain. She is usually gone first once you get better sustain. Hook. Power crept. She never really was the best and was only really run if you really needed a fire DPS versus fire weak enemies. She just doesn't do enough damage to justify running her if you have better DPS. Pella. Not power crept. Widely considered as the best, if not one of the best 4 stars in the game, and for good reason. She provides a lot of defense shred while also being pretty low investment. Just slap some speed boots on her and get her to 134 speed, and put the rest into effect hit rate and HP. She doesn't even really need Eidolons to function. However, she really benefits from a resolution shines as pearls of sweat, especially in some comps like with Acheron. Su Shang. Power crept. She found some use in a break effect oriented playstyle, but she got power crept by Boot Hill. You can still use her for the funny, but otherwise your resources are better spent elsewhere. Ting Yang. The other 4 star who is secretly a 5 star besides Pella. Not power crept. She provides 50, 60 at E6, energy for an ally with her ultimate and a flat attack boost with her skill. She can get very speedy and ult fairly quickly, making her a great candidate for Dance Dance Dance. This gives her a very strong role as a support that other characters can't really beat her on yet. Qingche. A unit in a weird spot. On one hand, as a 4 star DPS, she is power crept by 5 stars, but on the other hand can also output some very big numbers, especially on Mono Quantum, where her only competitors are Seal, Shueye, and Jade, unless you run semi-mono quantum, which you can if you really want to. I wouldn't say she is power creep just yet since I still use her to clear quantum content even now, but if there's a stronger main DPS quantum unit in the future, then she will be power creep. She also very much needs a sparkle to function, otherwise you're gonna have problems with skill points. Yukong. A very niche unit that can see use in very specific comps. She isn't very easy to use since you have to think about when to use her buffs and how to speed tune her. Power crept in terms of ease of use by other units, but not power crept in her niche. Luca. Not power crept. He may not be the best dot unit since he is single target, but he does fulfill his niche very well. As of now, there's no other unit who can apply bleed as effectively as him, and he also does pretty well with the break effect setup. Until there's another unit that applies bleeds as easily or with better multipliers than him, he is safe. But do keep in mind he is kind of niche. Lynx. Power creep. She's a very good sustain for people with no other options, and used to be the best free to play sustain. However, that niche was taken by Gallagher and now she is just better than Natasha, maybe even better than Bailu. Gwynaifen. Not power creep. Yet. A very good debuffer and dot unit. Usable as a replacement for Silverwolf and Pellet in some comps, and overall a pretty good option. Not the best as a DPS though, she really shines with Eidolons unfortunately. Hanya. Power creep. She was very good at allowing you to run SP heavy comps, but was replaced by Sparkle. Doesn't really have a niche, but can be used as a dance candidate simply because the only thing she wants to build is speed. Shueye. Hard to say. On one hand, is outclassed in terms of DPS by others, but is a pretty good 4-star option if you can't run Qingche versus Quantum enemies. Has a unique playstyle but can be a bit hard to build because she wants so many different stats. I would say she is power creep, but I am open to discussion. Misha. Bro came out the bubble power creep. Hard to compete against the Queen of Cold head to head when you're just a 4-star. Could use him since I'm sure most of us got him E6 from all the Acheron pulls we did. Gallagher. Not power creep. Yet. He is dubbed 4-star Luocha, and for good reason. He is great at giving you enough heals to survive while also allowing you to do more damage in super break teams. He only gets better with Eidolons as well. I personally use him even to clear Mach 12 content, even on non-break teams. Those were all of the 4-stars in the game, and it's really no surprise that many of them got power creep. I mean, it's to be expected, but the real important ones are the 5-stars, especially the limited 5-stars. It definitely hurts some people to know that their favorite old unit got power creep and that everything they put into that character means nothing. But don't worry, I'll tell you this, it never really mattered in the first place. Well, power creep. He has use in specific niches, but for the most part, if you roll him, you lost the 50-50. He does see some use if you want to try to kill the enemy before they kill you with his ult, but most times another unit can just provide more value. Himiko. Hot take. Not power creep. Himiko is a pure fiction unit who does her job well. Pure fiction is just a mode that lets you run duo or triple DPS anyway, so she fits right in. You can run her with Herda or Jade now, or even just hyper carry. Yang King. Power creep. As a hunt, he had it rough from the start. Only got worse once Jing Liu was released, but he is widely regarded as one of the most frequent pity breakers. Maybe it has some use in a freeze team, but I don't know. I just use Jing Liu anyway. Clara. Not power crept, at least not yet. She doesn't do as much damage as compared to other DPS characters, but has a somewhat unique playstyle. Yunli seems to be the better version of her, but it remains to be seen if Yunli is just better Clara. I will say, Clara is still very good even now, and I have used her to clear endgame content multiple times. I don't believe she is power crept just yet, simply because she can see some use here and there and has not fallen off the face of the earth just yet. Gepard. Power crept. Still kinda good if you have nothing else, but Aventuring is just a better Gepard anyway, at least if you want pure shields. Otherwise, he just loses out to most other sustain options. Pretty good in Remembrance Path teams though. Bailu. Power crept, same as Gepard. Good if you have nothing else, but not good overall. Too many other options that provide more while also doing her job. Does have a res in her kit, which did help me a few times when I was pushing one of my accounts as fast as possible to endgame though. Another unit that is commonly regarded as pity breaker. Bronya. Hard to say. I lean more towards power creep simply because other options exist that can take her spot in a team, but also provides a full action forward cleanse that other units don't have. Still a very good unit nowadays and is definitely one of the better permanent 5-stars you can get. Can very easily fill in some spots on teams for units you don't have, but did get power crept in skill point usage. She is a very skill point heavy character. Trailblazers. Physical and fire. Power creep. I might as well include them since they are technically 5 stars. Physical MC was never really good, and Fire MC got some use when there were no other options. Not very good units in general, but Fire MC does have some use in Acheron teams to provide a taunt debuff, along with using Trend of the Universal Light Cone to inflict burn on enemies. Trailblazers. Imaginary, not Power Creep. Meta unit. Very good in break comps since they are the only support right now who can give the team super break. We'll probably get Power Creep in the future though, but it is fine right now. Seal. Power Creep. People aren't gonna like that one, that's for sure. Seal just relies on her resurgence to proc in order to deal meaningful damage, which is locked behind killing trash mobs. She could work, but with the effort I would have to put in to make her competitive with other DPS, I could make almost every other DPS work. I mean, what character would do bad with near 100% crit rate and over 200% crit damage? Along with the supports available, it's a bigger surprise that you can't find some way to make Seal work somehow. Still doesn't change the fact she is Power Creep though. Jing Yuan. Power Creep, another unit that has lost to the stains of time. Jing Yuan feels bad to use unless you're just a hyper fan. He doesn't do enough damage unless you invest perfect relics, and he needs a lot of help from others to perform well. Doesn't help that he fights for the lightning DPS spot with Acheron, who is just better. Bro needs to retire at some point. Silverwolf. Hard to say. She is great at applying multiple debuffs to one enemy and can be SP positive, but has seen less use lately. Her main appeal of applying elemental weakness to enemies has started to come in new DPS kits, with Boothell and Firefly applying their own elemental weakness to the enemy. She can still work as a debuffer, but it kinda sucks that that's all a 5-star is gonna be good for. Luocha. Power Creep. Despite that, he is very good at keeping your team alive. He's a nice comfy pick if you don't want to think about when to heal, but doesn't have much utility outside of getting rid of buffs with his ultimate. There's not much point to running him nowadays because most competitive sustains bring more to the table than raw healing. Blade. Power Creep. There's not really another DPS like Blade in the game, but that doesn't mean he wasn't Power Creep. Now, who was he Power Creep by? Pretty much every DPS that came after. Bro looks and acts pretty cool, but man, his damage just doesn't compare. It's unfortunate because he had real potential to be a character with a pretty unique playstyle, but like Jing Yuan, it just takes too much investment to even put him on an even playing field. Kafka. Not Power Creep. Kind of a hot take, I know, but she is still the queen of Dot, and trust me, Dot is still very much playable even now. She really shines with other Dot units, so if you don't have any, then things get rough. And this might be another hot take, but she really wants her Light Cone. I've played both with and without it, and the difference is night and day. Still, there's not another Dot detonator currently in the game, and even if there were, she could just be played alongside them. Time will tell if she keeps her spot, but I at least will keep using her regardless. Dong Hung Inhibitor Lune. Not Power Crept. He Power Crept. He is still a strong character even now that I also use personally. Unfortunately, the difference between his base form and E2 is massive. At base form, he is competitive with quite a few other DPS. At E2, he is competitive with only a few. I will say, he does need quite a bit of investment, but so do most other characters anyway. A great crit damage DPS all around. Fu Xuan. Not Power Creep. Outside of very difficult simulated universe content, she performs her role fantastically. While the sustain role is pretty competitive, she does provide 12 crit rate for her teammates, a very useful stat to have. She also provides damage mitigation for her team, something we haven't seen before or after, at least currently. Jing Liu. Not Power Creep. Like the dill pickle, she is still a very strong pick even now. Her enhanced state gives 50% crit rate, making her easier for newer players to build. She also is ice, an element that doesn't really have much competition for ice DPS. While not able to deal the absolute monster damage that Acheron can, Jing Liu can pop out some real nice consistent damage and works fine to clear content even today. I will say though, her action advance is pretty annoying for keeping buffs on her. Topaz. Hard to say. Topaz is in a weird spot. As a hyper carry DPS, there's better options, but in a follow-up attack team, she is very strong, especially against fire weak enemies. She also has a high attack frequency, allowing her to attack many times in a turn. She really is more of a follow-up attack support or a sub DPS in a duo DPS role. She should be fine in terms of power creep for now, but we'll see in the future. Huahua. Not Power Creep. One of the best options for sustain because she is a hybrid of buffer and healer. She is also one of the only characters that allows others to gain energy. She also cleanses debuffs very frequently, something that just makes some enemies absolute pushovers. A strong contender for the sustain slot with what she provides. Argente. Not Power Creep. He works very well in Pure Fiction and is a top dog there. He is somewhat usable in Mach, and because of physical weakness, also an apocalyptic shadow. There's not really another unit quite like him, especially since he has 2 ults, but he does fall behind in DPS if there aren't enough enemies on the field. Doctor Ratio, not Power Creep. He ratioed Genshin when he was given for free, and he kept the ratio till today. He is still a very good option once properly built, and shines in both a hyper carry and follow-up attack setup. While not the biggest damage dealer, he outputs consistent damage that is enough to get you through content. Ruan Mei, not Power Creep. One of the best characters in the game and considered a must pull by some. She is meta because she is great in super break teams and also works well in many other teams. She provides damage and speed buffs and overall is a fantastic unit. The next characters are all relatively new, so they aren't really power crept. Instead, I'll just say whether or not I think they will be power crept soon or not. Black Swan, not soon. She's 5-star Sampo. She does great in dot comps and is okay as a debuffer in other comps. It doesn't really seem as though there will be another win dot DPS who is coming soon, so Black Swan is safe for now. Sparkle, not soon. She focuses on crit damage buffing with some action advance. It doesn't seem as though there's a new Harmony character coming soon that will do what she does but better. Acheron, not. The character that power creeps her is gonna have to be on another level. I think only the Kiana lookalike is gonna be able to do it. Acheron is the one who made the power creep conversation start in the first place. Great damage, great animation, great hype. She has it all. Even as a DPS, it doesn't look like she'll be dethroned soon. Aventurine, not soon. He provides great shields and honestly, the 5-star sustains we have won't really be power crept. They have to compete with one another for the spot, but once you get one, you should be good to go. Some teams function better with a particular one, like Aventurine in follow-up attack comps, but for the most part it doesn't matter. His place is fine, and even with the future Abundance character coming, it doesn't look like his strength of great shielding is in danger. Robin, not soon. Same reason as Sparkle. Robin works in follow-up attack and dot comps very well. She can sometimes be swapped out for Ruan Mei, but overall she occupies a different niche. Boot Hill, not soon because it already happened. I know that I said that these shouldn't be power crept soon, but he alone is the power crept one. He was done in by Firefly. Still, as a physical unit and the first break effect oriented DPS, he can still work. His damage is fine, but unfortunately he is a hunt. He struggles in AoE content, and like Seal, he also needs mobs to start getting stacks. I personally find use in him, and he's the only reason I can even do Mach 12 on my second account. Jokes aside, he is still very strong and pretty cool, but Firefly just does what he does but better. Firefly, not soon. She is meta. She is competitive with Acheron. That's how strong she is. As long as you run her with the super break comp. It would have to take another game breaking DPS like Acheron in her in order to power creep her. Jade, shouldn't be soon. She's a character only for pure friction and doesn't really have much use outside of it. She's the newest character, so hopefully she won't pull a Boot Hill and be power creep soon. Not much to say. I'll talk about the next units that are coming soon and whether I think they will power creep older units or not. Yunli. Probably. She is called 5-star Clara, so she probably power creeps her, and as a destruction character, she should at least be good, hopefully. Jiaokyo. Yes, he looks like 5-star Gornaifen. He is also a fire nihility character which should give him synergy with Acheron. That alone makes him meta. March 7th. Imaginary. Probably not. She's a free character and doesn't look like she'll do anything new. Could be a good free to play option in some teams though. Fei Xiao. Yes, looks like 5-star Dang Heng, is wind and a hunt character, who will probably be the best wind DPS when she comes out. We'll have to wait and see if she is like Boot Hill and struggles in AoE content a lot. Ling Sha. Yes, she is a fire abundance character, better Gallagher. Remains to be seen if she will be a better option than the others though. But if I were a betting man, then I'd take a wild guess and say that she's gonna be the break effect sustain, like how Aventurine is the follow-up attack sustain and Huao Huao is the dot sustain. Moze. Probably not. Doesn't look like anything special. He also has the misfortune of being both hunt and a 4-star. Now comes the question, does HSR have a power creep problem? Going by our definition at the beginning, then no, it does not. But I will say that the newer characters are much easier to build and more fun to use. Can older ones still clear content? Yes, they are not obsolete. At least not all of them. But with the way things are going, then I do have to say that I am a bit worried that HSR will take this route further. I think power creep isn't a big problem yet, but I think it will turn into a game where the newest units will just be so much better. It's to be expected since it's a gacha game, so I can't say I'm surprised, but I do at least hope that older units will be usable in the future, like how things are now. See you next time.